Hi everybody, welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel, and I am joined, it's been full circle, it's Roberto is back on the YouTube channel. Roberto joined us when Almiron was first rumoured to be joining Newcastle United, and now he's back to discuss the potential of him leaving Newcastle United. So how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Good, Kris. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it's kind of done. It kind of has feel. It's gone full circle on all this. I think it's been over a year now since that whole signing and the whole drama that came in, and now we're looking at possibly the potential of him leaving Tyneside. But we'll discuss that in a bit. But no, glad to be on, and I can't wait to dig into this.
No problem, mate. Thanks for joining me once again. So, we'll just have a quick roundup. Obviously, it's been international last fortnight. Almiron has been away with Paraguay for World Cup qualifiers, if that is correct.
That's right.
There's two games lined up. First one against Argentina, and Paraguay for majority of the game that it was backs against the wall. Something which Newcastle is used to. Newcastle fans are used to. Something that Almiron will be used to. But they did take the lead. So Paraguay did take the lead, went 1-0 up to a penalty, which was won by Almiron, who looked very dangerous in that first half.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he was one of the more, if not the most important player on the pitch for Paraguay in that draw. You know, he was able to go past the Argentine defenders on the left-hand side. He won the penalty that you had mentioned, in which Angel Romero scored. And he was just someone that just looked comfortable in the position that he was in. I think obviously that's always been a discussion along Newcastle fans and, journalists and people who are involved with the club into saying where his best position is. And, you want him as that left-sided attacker playing on the left flank or even more in the middle where he's able to get that freedom. But ultimately, he did pretty decent. I mean, obviously, it would have been much better if Paraguay had gone to the La Bombonera and get the 3 points, but ultimately only had to settle for one. But no, I think all the praise given to him was all because of his performances, and not only just because being deadly on the attack. I think what we've seen as well in Newcastle, and you kind of mentioned it there, kind of that back against the walls. Well, you kind of did see that from Almiron, trying to go in defensively and try to, had actually a few good challenges of beating Messi with the ball as well. So, yeah, it's maybe kind of already been what he's used to at Newcastle under Steve Bruce. Ultimately, it became important to get the point over there in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, so it's something which we've seen quite recently with Almiron, that he doesn't mind grafting and tracking back. You mentioned there Messi caught up Messi and put a couple of crucial tackles in. But what we did see from Almiron from the clips, obviously I didn't watch the full game, but what we did see is Almiron back to how he arrived on Tyneside. So a lightning fast player who's got the drive to run with the ball. And it's something which we haven't really seen since the arrival of Steve Bruce at the club. Under Rafa, Almiron looked like a completely different player. Under Bruce, it's a strange one. He didn't get his chance when Bruce first took over the club. Almiron missed a lot of games. What's your opinions on that, mate? Is it do you feel as if it's a sort of thing where Bruce just doesn't like him as a player, or he just doesn't fit into his formations?
Well, I think when you have competition coming in from all types of positions, obviously you have to fight for it. I think, I think it would be a bit daft to say that Steve Bruce doesn't like him personally. I think if I remember a quote, he did say he was the hardest working player he's ever managed or something along those lines. So there is some sort of praise that has to be given to him. But at the same time, it's almost as if, and many people, and not just in Paraguay or those who have followed Almiron's career, they kind of feel as if though this side is dull in a way, and maybe that's just taking out what Almiron's quality has been. And I'm sure you've all seen what he's been able to do over the last year or so. I mean, yes, the price tag perhaps isn't justifying in the way that he's producing in terms of scoring and assisting. I mean, yeah, he did finish top goal scorer in all competitions last season, but it was pretty dull when it came to who was scoring the goals anyway, and like how low it became. So it was I think more than anything, I think it's just the case of him being accustomed to where he's at. I mean, I think when you have a player that's been going through all different positions, played on the right, then the left, and the center, and then behind the striker. I mean, it gets kind of confusing in a way, and that's maybe why some people perhaps haven't figured out why he hasn't shined.
Mhm.
Maybe I think the praise is obviously going to be given to him because of what you see, the pace, the hard work, always putting in a shift, and that's always been something that I always remember when he first signed for Newcastle. And speaking to people from who are involved in the club, is that they want their players to give in their 110% work hard and whatnot. The question obviously now is what he's been able to do to produce, and that production becomes his end product. That was he waited so long to get his first goal back almost a year ago now,
Mm.
um, and that's just been how it's become basically. I'm sure that confidence of after scoring that goal helped him a lot. I mean, you remember that whole stretch of games where he did score in consecutive games, and he was starting to finally find his feet, and now we're kind of at a crossroads, basically. I mean, if you remember the start of the season where you saw Almiron benched, he was only playing matches in the FA Cup. He was coming in as subs, so it's kind of a weird situation, really. I mean, and that's why I think we're obviously going to jump into the quotes that his agent Daniel Campos gave in. Is it justifiable for a transfer out? I don't know. I know that he's always had interest from other clubs, but I think, for my sake, I think just because of the situation that he's in, maybe he just feels frustrated, and he feels as if though he's at the prime of his career. He's 26. Maybe he just wants to go for that next step now before it's too late.
Yeah, so I think the quotes went hand in hand with obviously Almiron got a yellow card. He got a booking in the 92nd minute. I'm not sure what happened there, mate. In the 92nd minute, was it a tackle or because
Yeah, it was a
he got
tackle.
subbed off in the
Yeah,
92nd minute as well?
yeah, I think it was a tackle, and because of that, it got him suspended for the next game against Bolivia.
Mm.
Where also there was kind of a bit of, I would say, doubts basically, because you would think that if you're suspended for the game on against Bolivia, which happened on Tuesday, and the game was on a Thursday when they played Argentina, you would think, okay, he's fit, he doesn't have to play. Why not just send him to England? But the Paraguayan FA insisted on him staying, and then all these rumors came about how maybe he just doesn't want to go back soon yet, or something
Mm.
along those lines. But no, I think it was just more the case of him wanting to be with the team, wanting to support them, and obviously they drew Bolivia 2-2 in the end. But I think it was just more of that rather than just leaving his boys basically and
Yeah,
going back to England.
it's something which we're seeing under Rafa quite a bit, especially with the likes of Almiron going away. Obviously, long haul flight, and Rafa used to do this quite often, where Almiron used to miss the next game or be benched the next game because of that reason. So obviously Newcastle requested Almiron come back after that suspension, get a couple of days on Tyneside, readjust, get in training. Like you said, the Paraguayan FA said no, he's staying with us, which led to the quotes by his agent, Daniel Campos. So it is something which we see quite often when international football comes around. The agents do like to get in front of a microphone, in front of a journalist, and just start spreading rumours. So his agent basically came out and said that if it wasn't for the current pandemic, then Almiron would already be away. Mentioned the likes of Atletico Madrid, interest in the summer, and obviously you just mentioned Inter Milan has been keeping an eye on Almiron, should we say it. I think that the quotations are quite bold to say that if it wasn't for the pandemic, he would be away. I think his agent has to remember that Almiron signed to this club with a £20 million plus price tag. So for Newcastle to let him go, it's going to take a lot of money for that to happen. Whether those two clubs are willing to spend 20 million plus. Looking at his stats in relation to assists and goals, then is that justifiable for a team which is challenging for the Champions League? I'm not sure what your stance is on this one, mate, but do you feel as if the agent was speaking out of line here, or is it just a case where, once again, agent trying to spread some hype around his player?
Well, I think we can always go back into when he first was interested by Newcastle. If you remember, he kind of said the same thing, not to that extent of what we saw the other day, but he did speak, admittedly, of the interest of Newcastle and how it was going to take a high price to take him to Newcastle, to the Premier League. So yeah, it's really weird. I think obviously on paper, if you obviously look at the stats and the assists, you might think to yourself, is he really a Champions League quality player? Is he really going to play for the likes of Atletico Madrid, Inter Milan, who are huge clubs in their own sense? That's where the doubt comes in. I mean, and also, mind you, it's also, he mentioned other teams in the Premier League being interested, bigger teams in quotation. So I would assume that would mean the top 6 team and the Manchester clubs, the London clubs, et cetera, et cetera. So I just don't understand. Maybe every agent has their own right to defend their players' interests. I understand that. I think it is bold. I think you're right. I think it is very bold of him to say such a thing, where basically telling his client that, or telling people that if it wasn't for this pandemic, he would have left Newcastle. We don't know if that was going to happen anyway, because, maybe some people say this stuff and then in the end it doesn't fall in. So maybe they were just going based on what they assume would happen. That's where this comes about. I mean, it kind of has become a storm brewing. It shouldn't be that way. I think obviously many fans are thinking of that because of obviously how he started the season, how he's been benched, he's been coming in as a sub, and then obviously staying with Paraguay despite being suspended, and now the quotes from his agent. It just feels like a perfect storm brewing. That's why some Newcastle fans are feeling a bit nervous in a way of losing him so soon. But I think he always had the interest, and I think, from my understanding, is that even though he never admittedly said it, I think he was just looking at the move in Newcastle as his first gateway to Europe, or to say, like, I don't want to say stepping stone. Because, yeah, but he didn't say that though. But maybe some people may have assumed, or at least from my understanding, that he wants to do that in order to get himself into a better club, or bigger club, I should say. So maybe that's where he was going at. And obviously, being in the age that he's in, now's the right time to cash in and to go and prove your worth at a bigger club.
Yeah, so I think Newcastle have been used quite a bit in that terms, like you just said, stepping stone. We've seen it in the past with players. And I thought when Almiron arrived, like I said earlier, mate, he's a dynamite player, and he quickly became a Newcastle fan favourite on the field there. And I think the recent quotes, one of them which does stick, and a lot of Newcastle is saying that Almiron wants to play more possession-based football, which is understandable because Almiron in a team that doesn't have the ball is wasted. And this is where the headless chicken phrase comes from. A lot of Newcastle fans have said Almiron looks a bit like a headless chicken running around the pitch without the ball, not knowing what he's doing or what his next plan is. The reason for that, in my opinion, is because Newcastle United don't have the ball very often. And that's not Almiron's fault. I honestly think if you handpicked Almiron up, put him in, like his agent said, a more possession-based football team, you're going to see a completely different player.
And that's what we saw in Paraguay. Paraguay are a side that are trying to play as a possession-based team. And obviously, you saw that, and not just in what we saw in Argentina, the game against Argentina, but even in the Copa America last year, in other games. It's where he feels much more comfortable in his 4-3-3, playing on the left, or being able to have that freedom to shift to the center. So, yeah, maybe that's why. I think being so accustomed to it, and obviously in Atlanta, that's kind of where he succeeded in a possession-based side that allowed him to get that move to Newcastle. I think that's why he wants that kind of freedom. And you look at some of the clubs that were interested. I mean, Atletico maybe are not the most possession-based side, but they obviously demand a lot of their players and are much more entertaining in a way. Inter as well, they definitely like to attack. Obviously, if there's clubs in the Premier League that are similar to that, off the top of my head, I don't know, Manchester City, Liverpool. I'm not saying that maybe those are the teams that are interested in him, but maybe just teams that are similar like that, Leeds or whatever. Anyway, those kind of attacking football. So maybe that's why he's trying to defend the player's interest, because it's best to go and look for a team that suits him well, and as well as suits the team as well.
Yeah, so if you had to say something, can you see Almiron leaving this team anytime soon and leaving this club in the near future?
Well, I think obviously, you have to always take quotes from agents with a grain of salt. Maybe sometimes they're just gassing up their player and trying to get their best value and try to get attention. Some people are honest. I mean, it just depends. And, obviously you don't want to burn bridges like you do when you're at a club. And we've seen how agents have become controversial just trying to deal with a bunch of feuds with club directors, coaches, whatever it may be. For my own opinion, I think he does leave. I don't know if he'll leave in the winter. I think in the summer, depending on how he does, obviously he's got World Cup qualifiers, still got a whole season to go with. Um, the thing, of course, will be who will pay for him and how much. He's still on a long-term contract, I think, until 2024, if I'm not mistaken, and he hasn't re-signed. So maybe there is something there that assumes that if a club is going to go for his services, they would have to pay a really hefty price for him. I would assume around 30, 35. I think that's where Newcastle might be thinking, okay, yeah, we can negotiate, but maybe in the summer. I mean, look, if his agent is saying that he wanted him gone since this summer, who's to say that maybe he's not going to try again in the next summer? So I think, and obviously I don't want it to end the worst way. I think if he does find his next move, it could be in the summer, or even it could be in time for the World Cup, assuming that Paraguay qualify. So that's where I personally think.
I think we'll have to remember as well, at the end of the day, these quotations came from his agent. And we've seen in the past with football agents that they do like to stir the pot, as you would like to put it. The quotations haven't came from Almiron. Almiron has not been quoted on this. The club refused to comment on it as well. So his next step, God knows, mate. Personally,
Yeah,
I'd love him to stay.
yeah. No, but also here, that's a good point that you mentioned. The good thing about Almiron, I think what makes him a bit different is that he doesn't talk a lot. I know he's someone that I think has only done has done many interviews. He has a low profile. He's married. He's obviously staying at home a lot. So maybe that helps him in his favor. It's like, you know, he's not that kind of brash, controversial player that likes to speak out about how he feels uncomfortable in the situation that he's in or talk bad about the coach. Nothing at all. He's very professional, and I think that's where maybe he feels kind of divided at a crossroads and saying, do I side with with my agent who's helped me so much in my career, or do I give the respect to the club that I'm obviously playing for and just doing my job? So it's weird. It's interesting, but the good thing is that he himself is not being involved in any of this drama.
I think what we'll have to remember as well that Newcastle United basically took a gamble on Almiron. It's not very often you see a player coming from the MLS, the American League, for such a hefty price tag into the Premier League, straight directly to the Premier League. Has he justified his price tag? £20 million this day and age isn't a lot of money. But like I said at the very start of this, under Rafa, he looked like a completely different player. Currently at the moment under Bruce, when he does get his chances, you mentioned the FA Cup games, he was playing fantastic in those games. Man of the match in every single one which he played. Then the following Premier League game, he was dropped once again. And that's what annoyed fans, the fact that he's getting his chance in the cup games, performing very well, and the manager doesn't play him in the next game. And that's what really, really annoyed fans. And I think I can speak for a lot of United fans on this one and say that it would be a shame to see Almiron leave. We still think that he's a lot more to give, given a change in formation, a change in direction. And I would be very disappointed to see him go personally.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a lot of people feel that way as well. I remember when the quotes started to come in, people were feeling that kind of way. I mean, obviously you're going to divide opinion anyway on how you feel about him, but ultimately they would be like, very disappointed and sad if he were to leave, because I think he's just someone that, off the pitch is someone, obviously the smile has been something that has become so infectious to the fans, and I think just the personality and the way that he works is professional, and I think that's what many fans want from their players. Obviously to put in a good shift, to be professionals, to show why they want to play for the club, and just anything after that is extra. So yeah, it would be very disappointing of him seeing, but I think if it's for his best interest to further his career and to become a better player than what he is, then he has to get the opportunity and take it when it comes.
No, I fully agree. Fully agree with you. Right, so thanks for joining us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. I think we've covered everything in terms of Almiron, his agent, and his international appearance over the last week. Thanks for joining us. Everybody who's watching, stay tuned to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel. We do have plenty more content coming this week in preparation for the Chelsea game Saturday lunchtime. And we'll see you around. Cheers, mate.